In July 2025, the fashion world was stunned when Jane Birkin's original Hermès bag, the prototype that started the global Birkin phenomenon, sold at Sotheby's Paris for a record 8.6 million euros. The bag, once casually used by the late actress and singer, had become not just a symbol of style, but a historical artifact. It was the very first bag designed at her request in 1983, sketched mid-flight on an airplane sickness bag. That one scribble gave birth to the world's most iconic handbag, but the woman behind it, Jane Birkin, was far more than a fashion muse. She was a rebel, an artist, a voice of generations, and a cultural bridge between Britain and France. Jane Mallory Birkin was born on December 14, 1946, in London, England. Her mother, Judy Campbell, was a well-known English actress who worked with Noel Coward, while her father, David Birkin, was a Royal Navy lieutenant commander and a spy during World War II. Raised in a household that combined art and discipline, Jane inherited her mother's elegance and her father's daring spirit. She grew up during a post-war Britain that was starting to shift its cultural identity, and by the age of 17, she was already turning heads with her unconventional looks. Wide eyes, soft voice, and long, unkempt hair that would define a new aesthetic of youthful rebellion. Jane's career began in the swinging 60s when she appeared in Michelangelo Antonioni's controversial film Blow Up in 1966. Though her role was minor, the film's global success helped put her on the cinematic map. Soon after, she traveled to France to audition for a movie called Slogan in 1968. She didn't speak French well, but she won the role, and more importantly, met Serge Gainsbourg, the iconic French singer-songwriter. What began as professional collaboration quickly turned into one of the most iconic and controversial romances in European pop culture history. Their first musical project together, Je t'aime, moi non plus, was released in 1969. With breathy, erotic vocals and sultry lyrics, the song was banned in multiple countries, including the UK, Italy, and Spain. Yet it sold millions of copies. Jane's whispery voice became instantly recognizable. The song wasn't just provocative, it was revolutionary, marking the arrival of a woman who would consistently defy norms. Birkin and Gainsbourg's relationship was often tumultuous, marked by passion, artistry, and conflict. Though they never married, they had a daughter together, Charlotte Gainsbourg, who would later become a prominent actress and singer in her own right. Jane served as Serge's muse for over a decade, starring in many of his films and albums. Their partnership defined an era of bohemian glamour and French pop surrealism. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Jane Birkin became a major figure in French cinema. She starred in films such as La Piscine, La Maman et la Putain, La Femme de ma vie, and La Belle Noiseuse. Her acting was subtle but emotionally rich. Her roles often captured the tension between vulnerability and confidence, a signature duality that she carried into her music as well. Despite her fame, Jane never embraced celebrity in the traditional sense. She wore secondhand clothes, walked barefoot to events, and carried her iconic basket bag everywhere, even to high-fashion Paris dinners. It was, ironically, this anti-fashion attitude that led to the birth of the Birkin bag. In 1983, while sitting next to Hermès CEO Jean-Louis Dumas on a flight from Paris to London, her basket spilled open, and she complained about the lack of a good bag that combined form and function. Dumas sketched an idea on an air sickness bag. 2 years later, the Birkin bag was born. What was meant to be a practical tote for an artistic mother became a symbol of unattainable luxury. The Birkin bag would go on to define an entire segment of high fashion, made of the finest leathers and often customized with diamonds, crocodile skin, and even platinum hardware. It was a statement of power and wealth. Celebrities and royalty waited years to own one. Yet Jane herself had mixed feelings about the bag. She used it, sure, but also complained it was too heavy. In 2015, she asked Hermès to take her name off the crocodile skin versions of the bag due to animal cruelty concerns. Her name might have sold millions, but she never saw herself in it. In the 1990s and 2000s, Jane reinvented herself once more, this time as a humanitarian and activist. She was outspoken on numerous issues, including human rights, the AIDS crisis, and the war in Bosnia. She regularly visited refugee camps and performed benefit concerts for causes she believed in. Despite her elegant demeanor, she was fierce in advocacy. She raised money for victims of natural disasters and protested authoritarian regimes, using her fame not for vanity, but for visibility. Tragedy never seemed far from Birkin's life. Gainsbourg passed away in 1991, and Jane famously carried the torch of his legacy by continuing to perform his songs in tribute concerts. In 2013, her eldest daughter, Kate Berry, a fashion photographer, died after falling from a fourth-floor apartment. The loss devastated her. Jane's health also began to decline in later years. She suffered a stroke in 2021 and was forced to cancel multiple public appearances. Yet she remained creatively engaged, performing concerts when possible and publishing essays reflecting on her life. Jane Birkin passed away on July 16, 2023, at the age of 76 in Paris. Her death marked the end of an era, one defined by contradictions. British but beloved in France, elegant yet rebellious, famous yet humble. The French government honored her with a national tribute, and thousands of fans gathered at Saint-Roch Church in Paris to say goodbye. President Emmanuel Macron tweeted, "Jane Birkin was a French icon because she embodied freedom." Now, 2 years after her death, her original Hermès bag, weathered, hand-scribbled, and carrying decades of history, has sold for 8.6 million euros. That object, born from a mid-air complaint, had become a relic. But while the world debates luxury and fashion, those who knew Jane Birkin understand that her value lay not in things, but in ideas. Art without ego, beauty without vanity, and fame without compromise. The story of Jane Birkin is not just one of fame or a handbag. It is the story of a woman who never quite fit the mold and never wanted to. She was a song sung in a whisper, a protest carried in elegance, a life lived without regret. In every film, in every lyric, and even in that accidental handbag legacy, Jane Birkin lives on, not in diamonds and gold, but in the freedom she never stopped fighting for.